you, Chairman McCoy, members of the committee. Thanks for hearing this modest, good little bill. I'm Senator Chris Marr from the 6th Legislative District in Spokane. I know you have a lot of folks to hear from this morning, so I'll make my comments brief and maybe a little bit more general, because I see this as really an opportunity to engage in thoughtful and informed debate, which is a little bit of a welcome change around somewhat of a toxic dialogue the last couple of weeks that have surrounded this bill. It's been fomented, I'll admit, by some unlikely bedfellows, but I think we're all kind of realizing that to get to some type of solution, we need to move past that, and I consider this hearing a real opportunity to do that. Like many of you here, I supported 937 and worked for its passage, but like any initiative, it invited some unintended policy consequences and costs that weren't anticipated, or that perhaps were anticipated with an agreement that those would be addressed at some point in time. And that's why we revisit citizen initiatives after 2 years, much to the dismay of Mr. Iman and others, because they do have consequences that need to be addressed. Senate Bill 5840, I think, sets up a discussion around a number of issues, and I'll just put them this way. Is there an opportunity to raise the bar on renewable energy standards in the face of what we know now about the science around greenhouse gas production and the threat to our environment? Number two, is the most cost-effective, greenest form of energy, conserved energy, adequately incented and rewarded in I-937? Third, have we had an opportunity to maximize the supply of clean, abundant hydropower through efficiency upgrades, or possibly even through recognizing the potential in small-scale generation? Can we create a more diverse, cost-effective renewable portfolio by allowing renewable acquisition over a larger area, in this case, the WECC as opposed to the Pacific Northwest? Should we take advantage of emerging biomass generation technology, which has the added benefit of providing economic development opportunities and help for economically depressed forest products industry? And lastly, more and probably most importantly, should we do more given our current economic situation to head off a potential rate shock for both residential and industrial users, when it could be avoided just through some smarter policy choices? I think at the end of the day, that's one of the most important questions we're answering here. And along with that, should we in fact be punishing slower growing utilities, forcing them in many cases to sell off cheap hydropower to acquire expensive RECs, when we all know that was not the intent of I-937, and I think both proponents and opponents would acknowledge that was never the intent. So, Senate Bill 5840, as you've heard from the striker that's been discussed so far, and I'm sure there'll be some other changes that you'll be debating, will no doubt leave in a different form than it came to you. But if we can have that thoughtful, informed discussion that I mentioned, then I'm confident we'll end up with a bill that we can all support and that serves the citizens of the state well. I just want to end on this note. You know, we know that we need to balance our commitment to reduce greenhouse gas production and protect our environment with the economic reality that we face both today and going into the future, because we face some challenges that are not easily solved over the next few years, particularly when there are win-win solutions. You know, asking these questions that I've asked is not heresy, because there is no orthodoxy around the environment, or at least there shouldn't be, because I think at the end we're all about the same things there. So all I'm going to suggest is that we can have that debate without suggesting that there's one right or wrong, and without bowing to perhaps special interests that lie on both sides of this debate. Then I think we have the opportunity to actually solve this problem. The stakes are too high to succumb to either of those temptations. So again, I commend this bill to you, and I will no doubt continue to commend it in the form that it emerges from this committee, and because I know many of you share my same concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I welcome any questions, or I also welcome you moving on to comment from others.